Okay, so I'm ready for the next stage here. I'm going to do the rabbit ears, this little dome here on the top, and these antenna that are coming out. So now to make this dome on the top, I am going to be using. I'll just make it off to the side here. I'll make it off to the side, and then I'll move it into position. Okay. So let's make a sphere. Let's go ahead and make a sphere. All right, make a sphere, any sphere, and we'll call this rabbit ears base. That's what they called those old antennas. They called them rabbit ears base. And I'm going to turn the slice on and let's see here. All right. So I'll slice from 180 to 0, from 180 to 0. And I'm going to get the rotate tool and I'm going to, with angle snaps on, I want to rotate this over exactly 90 degrees. And then this thing is huge. It's way too big. If I were to move it like into position, on the top of the TV, kind of like this, so that it's kind of in position, and turn to an angle here so I can kind of look at it right there. We can kind of see it in the picture here. So that's pretty huge. It still needs to be a little bit smaller. And that might be about fine. I'm just going to set my radius at 3.5 centimeters. So I'll go with the radius of 3.5 centimeters. And because of the angling here, um, in the picture it looks like it's offset to one side. Like it does not look like it's centered on the TV. No matter how you slice it, it doesn't look like it's centered. If it had been centered, it'd be coming out of about right there. If it had been centered, So I'm going to say that that's kind of off to the side there, and also just looking at the slope of this, I'm going to turn off angle snap and turn on the rotate tool. With angle snap off, turning on the rotate tool, and I want to try to match the slope. In fact, it might be better for me to look at this from the left side and zoom in from the left, and yeah, well, I can really see nicely now. It's almost impossible to tell. It looks like it's resting right on top, nice and square on the top right there. And I might just drop the radius bound to 3 instead of 3.5. I think I feel better about that. Switch back to the perspective viewport and take a look at my object here. All right. So I'm pretty good with that positioning of it, and it is resting very nicely up on the top right there. I'm going to go ahead and open up the material editor. And this material that I was using, that I was calling, something silverish, kind of grayish, uh, with a metallic tinge to it. You know, I could even try to tweak this a little bit to give it a little bit of a, let me see, metalness. Let me run the metalness up on this to about point 0.5 something. And then let me see what it's looking like in the renderer. I'm okay with it. Again, I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just looking for close. Did you take the time to paint it? So happy with that. Now, as far as the actual antennas come out, I'm going to build those. I'll build one, and then I will clone it. So let's see here. I'm going to use a cylinder, and the cylinder is going to have a very small radius, and I'm only going to run it up about that high. Okay, and then I'll get the move tool here, and I want to move it up here, and let's see. I'm back a little bit. And just initially here, I'm just going to have it coming straight out of the so I'm going to build it first, and then I will tilt it after I've built it. So it'll be built, then it'll be tilt. So this one's going to be we'll call it right antenna. So right antenna, not right antenna. See that I? Yep. RIGHT. Right antenna. Now I'm going to hold down my control key and select the rabbit ear. So I got the rabbit ear base and the antenna selected. I'm going to right click and hide the unselected so I can just get all that other stuff out of the way. It's distracting me from what I want to pay attention to. Now back on this thing. The height is okay, but the radius is still too big. I need to thin that down. That's pretty good right there for the base. Maybe I could bump it just a little bit more. Maybe I will make the base like 0.2. All right. Now, with that base at 0.2, and with this initial height, I'm happy with this initial height. Maybe it's a little high. I'll bring it down about like that. Let me look here. Yeah, it's not that high. So I'll just set it nice round 10. 10,000 he puts. 10 centimeters. Okay, that's good. I like that. And I'm going to right click it and convert it to an editable poly. This will convert that antenna to an editable poly. And now I'm going to grab its polygons, and the one I want is right there at the very top. Be careful. Don't do this with the move tool active. Let me zoom on that thing. Gee, it looks like it actually is big. I'm going to click on the inset menu, and of course inset blows it up, but I'll zero out the inset tool and then bump this up slowly, like about 0.5. At 0.5, I'll click the check mark, and then I will hit the extrude button, and it just extruded it out for me 10 centimeters. And I'll click the check mark, and I will click on the extrude button again, and it's going to give me another 10 centimeters. Oh, but hold on. Control Z. Nope. I want one of those. So yeah, I want the first one. So I got the first one there. With that polygon selected, let me zoom on that polygon again. Pardon me. I need to do another 0.5 inset. There we go. With another 0.5 inset, now I can do another 10 centimeter extrusion, and I'll click OK on that. And then up here at the very top, now this thing is really actually very tiny. Up here at the very top, I'm just going to create like a little cylinder. Not a cylinder, pardon me. A little sphere. There we go. And then, man, where is this thing at in space? All right. It's huge. It's a monster. Let me get in the top view here. Zoom in closer. I want to put this on the very top of the antenna. So I've positioned it onto the very top of the antenna. And actually, the antenna sticking through it. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. And then on the Modify tab, antenna end. Antenna end. And then this thing, the radius. Let's go with 0.3. Pretty tiny radius. And then let's zoom in on this. And And even 0.3 is a bit large. Let's try 0.2. Better. 2 is pretty good. All right. Now, this antenna, the antenna with its little ball on the end, I'm going to select both those objects and I will group them, and I will call them right antenna. Right antenna. All right, awesome. Then I'm going to go ahead and shift clone out a copy, which I will call left antenna. So now I've got my left antenna. And then the pivot point for this antenna. Right now, the pivot point is in a really bad spot. So I would like to move the pivot point. So I'm going to get on the hierarchy tab, and I'm going to move the pivot point for the antenna all the way down near the bottom of the antenna. I want that pivot point down at the bottom. And that's good. All right. And so this other antenna, its pivot point is also in the wrong place. I'm going to affect its pivot point, move it also all the way to the bottom. And let me zoom in on this. Good. All right. Now, these two antennas are they're in about the right spot that I want them into. Put this one a little bit more to that side. And in fact, let me look at the front viewport and let me zoom on this. I've got these lined up wrong. So that's the right antenna. It'll go over on the right side. This is the left antenna. It's going to go on the left side. So I've got the two antennas lined up here like this. And then go to perspective. I'm going to unhide all. I'm going to click this first antenna and turn on the rotate tool. Ah, doggone it. That's the pivot I need to move. There we go. But there we go. I want the pivot down there. So how come the rotate tool didn't appear there? Good. And then this one right here, the pivot only, let me affect that. All right. So this one I'm going to tilt out, and this one I'm going to tilt out. And then I will select both of these antennas, select them both, open up the material editor, and I'm going to apply my silverish material to them, to the selection. And now if I move back a little bit here and zoom in on this, kind of a similar angle to what I see there in the original, I'll go ahead and render that and see how it's looking. And it's beginning to look a lot like that TV, the TV in the picture. So there's my rabbit ears. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next video when I wrap this up.